Hey guys, this is Nathan from RunDreamAchieve.com, and today's topic we're going to be discussing how to increase stamina for long distance running. And stamina, without question, for you to be able to sustain pace for long periods of time, you have to improve your stamina. It's one thing to go out and run long, slow, easy, long runs every weekend and build that endurance up. But if you're trying to run a specific time for a specific event, stamina and strength is what you need. You also need endurance as well. You need to build that general fitness to start and finish any type of a distance, whether you're training for a 5K or the marathon. But most athletes, at least the ones that I've come across, middle to long distance runners over the years, these athletes always have a specific time in mind. They're trying to run a 5K maybe under 30 minutes, or maybe they're trying to run 2:30 for the marathon. It's always, most oftentimes, it's usually a time goal that these athletes have. And so this topic, how to increase stamina for long distance running, the longer you're trying to run, the more important stamina really plays a part, especially if you're trying to run fast over a half marathon or a 10K or a marathon event. How you do that is, in my opinion, you're always focused on developing your speed. It doesn't matter if you're a marathoner and you have more of a focus on the longer races. You always want to focus on developing your overall leg speed. The more time you spend training at your aerobic capacity, your VO2 max, where we talk, VO2 max is where you're running at basically maximum effort, where you're training so fast you cannot clear the lactic acid that's building up, and so you can really only spend a few seconds to a few minutes doing intervals at these types of efforts. So doing those types of workouts where you're running much faster than you're planning on racing at in your chosen event, that's very important, because you want to practice running at paces drastically faster than you're trying to race at over your long distance events. When I ran 2:19 for the marathon, I had spent so much time doing intervals well under 5-minute mile pace, doing repeat miles in the 440s, doing a repeat 2 miles under 10 minutes each, doing 3 reps of those 2 miles in the 950s at 6,000 feet altitude, doing long runs in the 520s to 530 per mile pace effort. I had spent so much time running so anaerobically that I got to a point where I could eventually, on that day, I ran 5:19 mile pace for 26.2 miles, where I think it comes out to 3:18 per kilometer for 42.2 kilometers. So that happened because I was always focused on building my stamina up, building my strength and my speed, coupled with building my endurance as well. So how to increase your stamina comes down to your focus and your drive and motivation to develop that leg speed that you need and that you're going to need in the longer races, to get to a point where you can be very efficient and very effective at clearing lactic acid faster than it's building up while you're racing. That's why all the best middle to long distance runners make it look easy, because they've trained at such a hard anaerobic effort and training for such a long period of time, and they've stayed consistent on those efforts, that when it came down to the point where they started tapering down their training and they've dropped their volume, dropped their intensity, they started to rest, they started to really pay attention to like I talk about and harp about on all my videos. They started to pay attention to that rest period, that critical component of success in long races as well as middle to long distance races, that they went in, rested, and they were able to really race effectively, because they've allowed that time for their body to recover from all the hard workouts they were doing. So you increase stamina for long distance by doing those harder, longer intervals. The types of stamina workouts I would do over the years when I was training for the marathon and half marathon was repeat 5Ks on the roads, 3 times 5K on the roads, long fartlek workouts where I would run 1 minute hard followed by 1 minute easy, and I would do that for an hour on the roads. Sometimes I was doing that with world-class Kenyan marathoners, other marathoners here in the States that were national to world-class type athletes, athletes that were even much faster than I'd ever run for the marathon distance. Doing those longer fartlek workouts where you're alternating efforts, you're running very hard anaerobically, then you're backing off and running relaxed and aerobically. Doing a combination of that, 6 times 1 mile repetitions on the track, 12 to 14 800 meters on the track, anywhere from 215 to 220 per repetition, with around 90 seconds recovery between each one of those 800s. Again, that was always at 6,000 feet altitude when I was training, at least when I was living in Colorado Springs. When I was training for living at sea level, I would do very hard to moderately hard long runs, and then alternate a harder long run one weekend followed by an easy relaxed long run the following weekend. That builds up your stamina, especially when you're focused more on longer intervals. You're extending the amount of time you're running your tempo runs. You're not doing, if you're training for a marathon, a 4-mile tempo run is, yes, going to build some stamina and strength, but a 10-mile tempo run will make you even stronger. And again, you want to, if you want to run well over long distances, you do have to get accustomed to running for long durations at your anaerobic threshold, because you're going to be racing at or close to your anaerobic threshold, or slightly faster than your anaerobic threshold. That's the point where your lactic acid starts to build up in your bloodstream. So again, the more effective you can get at training your body to clear that lactic acid that's going to be present when you're running even middle to long distance races, the more effective you can be, the more efficient you can get your body to clear that faster than it's building up, the more sustainable, the more effective that you're going to become at sustaining that goal race pace that you're trying to race at. And that's why I always harp on training at near or far below your goal race pace. Make that get to a point where race pace feels more in control, less taxing on the body, less aggressive. It's going to hurt and it's going to feel aggressive, definitely, regardless, in the latter stages of your long distance races. But you're not going to be in as much pain and as much difficulty in the early stages of that race, because you've trained well anaerobically. You've paid attention to your recovery days, where you've backed off the pace. I always talk about, like, if you had done a workout on a Monday, say for example repeat 800s or repeat miles on a Monday, and you stress your body really hard on that day, and you go out the next day on a Tuesday and you're running with some group that didn't do that hard workout that you did on Monday, and they start taking off, and if you don't have the same amount of discipline to back off as you had on that Monday to do that hard anaerobic workout, and you start taking off and you start trying to prove yourself, and you feel bad, like, well, they're starting to run too fast, and if I let off, maybe they'll think that I'm not, as good as, or whatever. We as athletes, we're far too hard on ourselves. We pay attention to things that really don't matter in the long run. So you have to have that discipline to back off and to relax, and let the other athletes that didn't do that hard anaerobic workout you did, let them take off. You always want to focus on the end goal. What is your plan? What is your plan of attack? Okay, you stress the body hard, then you allot the time, preferably 48 hours after a very hard workout. Give yourself 2 days of relaxed, easy jogging after a hard workout, and then attack after that second day is up. Then attack and do a hard anaerobic workout again. Okay, so building stamina takes time. It takes patience. If you're rushing the process, if you're thinking you're going to get a great result and you're pushing yourself too quickly to get that result, it's going to end in being depressed, being fatigued, being tired, second guessing yourself. Be patient with yourself in this process, okay? Great results don't come overnight. I can assure you that, I'll give you an example. I ran 2:19 for the marathon. I say that in other videos not to impress anybody, because it's not really that fast. There are athletes out there running under 2 hours, one athlete. There are many athletes, thousands of athletes around the world that can go under 2 hours and 19 minutes for the marathon. But I ran from 1992 all the way to 2007 before I ran that fast. So I had to have an enormous amount of patience and a driven, motivated goal to build that stamina to get to a point where I could run that fast for that distance. So obviously it may not take you that long to achieve your goal. But for me personally, I was trying to run under 2 hours and 22 minutes for the marathon. It was an Olympic trials, USA Track and Field Olympic trials B standard time several years ago, back in 2007. So that was my goal. I wanted to at least, at a bare minimum, get to a point where I could achieve an Olympic trial standard based on the amount of talent and amount of work ethic I had. So in terms of building your stamina, be patient with the process. Know that great results will come, but you have to be consistent, persistent over a long enough period of time, and don't let a setback or a bad race or bad performance or several bad races or bad performances get the best of you. Know that what you're doing is respectable. You're going after a competitive time. You're trying to go compete in a competitive event. You're trying to achieve something that a lot of athletes don't always will necessarily go after. So building stamina takes time. Building stamina is about focusing on stressing the anaerobic systems of the body sufficiently enough and for a long enough period of time, coupled with a proper taper focus and proper recovery phase focus. Before you doing all these things in combination for a long enough period of time will guarantee you great results in this event, in your chosen event, whether that's the half marathon, 10K, or marathon event, as we're talking about long distance. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any other questions or concerns, leave me a comment below this video. There are definitely resources on RunDreamAchieve.com. I have running courses, training plans, as well as a private membership community. So if you want to work personally one-on-one with me as your coach and as a mentor, feel free to check that out on RunDreamAchieve.com. I wish you all the best, and I will talk to you all in the next video.